Now we want to go to step 2, which is notify. What is their anxiety wanting to notify them or us about? So this is really important, parents, because what we know about anxiety is that we don't really have a ton of control over whether or not anxiety gets triggered or not. Anxiety is actually hardwired into our bodies, and it works very much like an alarm. So when there is a threat, the alarm goes off and anxiety floods. So it's just like a house alarm. If a burglar tries to get into the house, in other words, there's a threat to the integrity of the house, it'll trip the burglar alarm. The burglar alarm will go off, and ideally the police will come or the burglar will be scared and will run off. Okay, anxiety works like the burglar alarm in our body. Anxiety is like the trip of the alarm that tells us something is wrong. And that thing that is wrong is there is an external threat, real or perceived, somewhere. And this is so critical in the move towards skill, parents, because when we can understand that, number one, our children do not really have control over their anxiety getting triggered any more than we do. And that when their anxiety is triggered, it is triggered because it has an important message for us. And that message is that their body is perceiving danger on some level. This is really important to know. Now we can become curious about what the danger is. Is it a real danger? And when I say danger, I mean a threat to the integrity of our child's system. So in that context, danger could be anything from a physical threat, which would be like bullying at school or something of that nature, where there's literally perhaps a physical threat that is present in our child's world. Or it could be more likely for most of our kiddos, an emotional, spiritual, sexual threat. So it could be online bullying. It could be academic threat, the threat of not achieving. And then we want to be curious, why is that a threat? Is there pressure in the household to achieve at a certain unrealistic standard? Or is there pressure in the school system to achieve to a certain standard? Is there pressure to live out a certain idealized life of a certain type of college and a certain type of career that the child may or may not have bought into, have chosen for themselves, that's coming from an outside agenda? When that happens, that becomes an external threat and it evokes anxiety. Make sense? So becoming curious about these external threats. What is it that is triggering the anxiety? Many of those things our children don't have any control over, but we might be able to help with. For example, if we are putting pressure on our children to achieve at a certain level that is creating anxiety for them, we then may have the ability to reduce the threat to help them lower their anxiety. So we may want to change where we are in terms of our expectations of their grades, their extracurricular involvement, their leadership, their personal social development, their spiritual life. We tend to have a lot of idealized demands as parents that we can sometimes misplace on our children. So becoming curious and understanding what the anxiety wants to notify us about is really important.